very serious crime.
Okay, you've heard they've also pointed to this to this issue with the Democratic Party and the Ukrainian embassy. This comes from a story in Politico that ran in January. The headline: Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. And I want to read from the article. A Ukrainian-American operative who was consulting for the DNC met with top officials in the Ukrainian embassy in Washington in an effort to expose ties between Trump, top campaign aide Paul Manafort, and Russia. The Ukrainian efforts had an impact in this race, helping force Manafort's resignation and advancing the narrative that the Trump campaign was deeply connected to Ukraine's foe to the east, Russia. So let me ask you, I understand Hillary Clinton lost, and I understand this effort was not as elaborate as the Russian effort, but was it acceptable, or would it have been acceptable for the Democrats to accept help from the Ukrainian government in this campaign?
No, it would be appropriate for the Democrats to accept help from the Ukrainian government. But I think if you look at the Politico article, and we're talking about just a single article here, if you accept all the facts in the article, the scale of what the Russians did is not comparable to anything in that article.
She is accused of doing favors while Secretary of State in exchange for contributions to her family's charitable foundation for lucrative speaking engagements for her husband. In some cases, Mrs. Clinton's accused of covering up her behavior by failing to disclose the monies received. And today we learned that Clinton charities are now refiling 5 years' worth of tax returns after a Reuters review found errors in how they were reporting donations. Today, Mrs. Clinton's campaign spokesman responded saying, quote, "No one has produced a shred of evidence that Hillary Clinton ever took action as Secretary of State in order to support the interests of donors to the Clinton Foundation. There may not be a smoking gun, but there is certainly a circumstantial case. Exhibit A for Mrs. Clinton, uranium. You know, the stuff we use for nuclear energy and bombs? You might imagine it's a hot commodity. And guess who has a fair amount of it? We do, the United States of America. But thanks to a deal approved in part by Mrs. Clinton's State Department, we no longer control at least 1/5 of our capacity, perhaps more. Instead, the Russians do. That's uranium inside the United States, and its new owner is a Russian company called Uranium One that's owned by Russia's nuclear agency. So why would the U.S. allow Russia to take control of so much American uranium? Good question. And some lawmakers asked it and objected to this deal at the time, saying, why would we do this? But in June of 2010, the Obama administration signed off. Not just Mrs. Clinton, but it included her. It was a committee that includes the Attorney General, the Secretaries of Treasury, Defense, Homeland Security, Commerce and Energy, and, of course, the Secretary of State. That same month, Bill Clinton suddenly received a $500,000 speaking gig in Moscow by a Russian bank that wanted this deal and badly. And the company that took control of so much of America's uranium, well, they were big Clinton fans, donating at least $2.35 million to the Clinton Global Initiative from 2009 to 2012. Donations, as it turns out, the Clinton charity did not disclose. In fact, the donations were only unearthed after Clinton cash author Peter Schweizer dug up tax records of a foreign foundation up in Canada that happened to show these payments to the Clinton charity. And in the end, with the deal signed off on by Secretary Clinton, we are looking at real questions about whether the United States of America is now sending American uranium through Russia onto Iran.
Connection between Trump and Russia, because she has so many connections of her own. Now, my analysis of Trump and Russia is that there is no substantial connection. Why do I say that? Well, because Trump was trying to invest in Russia before Putin in the 1990s, after Putin, in fact, nearly all the way up to the present moment. And he's had no success. He did not manage to build hotels and so on in Russia. So that shows how insubstantial his contacts are. There's an extremely well-documented pattern of when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, those people, companies, governments, who wanted a decision by the Secretary of State in their favor making large donations to the Clinton Foundation, or in some other cases, business deals with the people around Hillary Clinton. Now, one particular instance is the approval by Secretary Clinton of selling 20% of the US uranium reprocessing rights to a Russian company to be exported to Russia. So at that time, a large donation was made by those Russian interests to the Clinton Foundation. In addition, Clinton's campaign manager, Podesta, was on the board of a company called Juul Unlimited. And Juul Unlimited held some of these rights and received a $35 million investment from Russia.
And that's a Russian government company.
And also, Russians were on the board also with Podesta.
So the kind of email revelations from WikiLeaks reveal that Hillary Clinton is a Kremlin stooge.
I wouldn't say Kremlin stooge, but there is a much deeper connection on record with Hillary Clinton and Russia than we are presently aware of with Donald Trump.
Hillary Clinton had been very much involved with the Russians as we talk about the Uranium One deal, which was very scandalous.
And right, we keep hearing that talking
maybe
point.
There was right. Maybe there was
that you guys keep bringing that up. You don't think?
But you don't. So you don't think the Uranium One deal was a big deal?
And I mean, you don't think that President Trump would have approved the Uranium One deal? The person who doesn't want, who we hear that his administration doesn't want.
But that's